Hello everyone, welcome to Cheongfuli Weekly Report. Here we bring you the latest China's steel market prices and analysis every week. This week, the spot price of steel first rose and then fell. Eventually, the domestic spot price of hot-rolled coil increased by 10 yuan ton compared with last week, while the price of rebar remained unchanged. At the macro level, the number of unemployed people in the United States decreased this week. The probability of the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates by 25 basis points in December is 39.6%. But the probability of keeping interest rates unchanged is 60.4%. Expectations of interest rate cuts have eased, and downward pressure on commodities has gradually emerged. Domestically, macroeconomic data in October was poor, with real estate-related data further declining. Attention needs to be paid to the room for reserve requirement ratio (RRR) cuts and interest rate cuts at the end of November, with policies mainly focused on offsetting downward risks. On the industrial side, the weekly output of the 5 major steel products rebounded, increasing by 155,300 tons week on week, while molten iron output remained basically unchanged. Among the 5 major steel products, rebar output saw a significant increase of 79,600 tons week. Hot-rolled coil output increased by 23,500 tons week, and medium and heavy plate output rose by 42,900 tons due to strong demand. As steel mills' profits have not improved recently, the output increase this week was mainly driven by the resumption of production after maintenance, and steel mills have little willingness to take the initiative to expand production. It is expected that the overall output will remain stable next week. On the demand side, demand this week increased by 335,600 tons compared with last week. The growth was concentrated in rebar, hot-rolled coil, and medium and heavy plates. Driven by price increases in the first half of the week, some speculative demand and rigid inventory replenishment were boosted. Currently, the peak level of demand is not optimistic, but the national temperature has dropped slowly, and there is still certain resilience in the demand for construction steel. In terms of inventory, the destocking speed of the 5 major steel products accelerated compared with last week, with an overall weekly destocking of 442,500 tons. Both social inventory and mill inventory decreased to a certain extent. By product type, rebar inventory decreased by 228,300 tons, while hot-rolled coil still faces inventory pressure, with mill inventory difficult to reduce and even increasing by 5,000 tons. In summary, the increase in output this week has weakened expectations of subsequent steel price rises, and the inventory pressure remains unresolved. As we gradually enter the off-season for steel demand, the room for steel mill profit growth is limited, and it is becoming more difficult for steel prices to be supported by costs. Currently, the market is more focused on inventory transactions than output. Only when inventory is reduced to a reasonable level can the upward space for steel prices open up. Otherwise, based on the current supply and demand situation, the pressure on the raw material side will further increase, and even negative feedback may occur. Therefore, although apparent demand has improved in the short term and prices have remained stable, it is difficult for steel mills' profits to expand, and cost support is also gradually loosening. For procurement, it is recommended to focus on rigid demand, especially for products where steel mills are experiencing profit inversion, such as some special steel grades and billets. Institutions currently hold the view that inventory levels remain relatively high on a year-on-year basis, and the expectations for subsequent demand are still cautious. Meanwhile, there is still support on the cost side of steel products, and there is a possibility that the policy side will continue to release positive measures, meaning that steel prices still have the driving force for a rebound after a weak adjustment. Therefore, prices are still showing a volatile trend in the near term. In summary, steel prices have maintained a weak stability recently. For product selection, consider partial procurement of special steel grades and billets at low prices. Okay, feel free to leave your thoughts, questions, or any related inquiries in the comment box below. And if you found this video valuable, Don't forget to follow us for more updates. See you next week.